My name is Stella Harrison. I'm 29. On December 18th, 2024, I came home for Christmas, and the house was empty except for Grandpa George in his rocking chair by the fireplace, still as stone, like he'd been waiting for me. On the kitchen counter lay a handwritten note from my mother. Not a phone call, not a question, just a decision made for me. Stella, Dad, Mom, and Brandon are in Europe for 2 weeks. You stay and take care of Grandpa. His medications are in the cabinet. We'll be back December 31st. Mom. That was all. No one asked if I could take time off from my hospice nursing job. No one remembered I'd worked 11 straight overnight shifts just to get Christmas week free. They simply assumed I'd give up my plans, because I always had. I looked at Grandpa. He was 81, hands folded in his lap, eyes steady with a calm I'd never seen before. "Shall we begin?" he asked. I didn't know what he meant, but I nodded. 7 days later, they came back from their $32,000 European vacation, walked in, and started screaming. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where it all began. This wasn't the first time they'd left me behind. It was just the most expensive. Let me take you back to Thanksgiving 2021. I was 26, 3 years into my hospice nursing career at Riverside Hospice Center in Greenwich, Connecticut. I'd requested the week off in August, 3 months in advance. I'd planned to spend it with college friends at a cabin in Vermont. Nothing fancy, just time away. On November 15th, my mother called at 7:15 p.m. I'd just gotten home from a 12-hour overnight shift. "Stella, we're going to Turks and Caicos for Thanksgiving," she said. "No hello, no how are you? Your grandfather has a cold. Someone needs to stay with him. You're a nurse. You know how to take care of sick people." I sat in my car in the driveway for 18 minutes after that call. The cabin reservation was non-refundable. But that wasn't what hurt. What hurt was the assumption, the absolute certainty in her voice that I would comply. They left on November 22nd for Grace Bay Club in Providenciales, 1,530 miles away, 6 days, 5 nights, at a luxury resort. I called my friends and canceled. Then I called my supervisor at the hospice and gave up 4 shifts I'd been saving. 4 12-hour shifts at $22.50 per hour, plus holiday pay. I lost $1,080 in wages, but I didn't complain. I just stayed home with Grandpa George, who had the sniffles for exactly 2 days. On November 24th, Thanksgiving Day, I was feeding my grandfather turkey and mashed potatoes while scrolling through my mother's Instagram. There they were, my parents and my brother Brandon, on a white sand beach. 4 people. Big smiles. My mother's caption read, "Family is everything." Someone commented, "Where's Stella?" My mother replied within minutes, "She's home taking care of Dad. Someone has to." I stared at that emoji for a long time. The smiley face felt like a slap, but I didn't say anything. I never did. Then came summer 2023, July 15th through 23rd. 8 days in Napa Valley for my father's 56th birthday. They booked 2 suites at Carneros Resort and Spa, $800 per night, 2 rooms, $12,800 total, not including flights or the wine tours, or the Michelin-starred dinners. On July 8th, my brother Brandon posted in our family group chat, "Booked Carneros for Dad's birthday, 2 suites, wine country here we come." I replied, "2 rooms means 4 people. What about me?" My mother responded 11 minutes later. "Grandpa has a cardiology appointment on July 18th. Someone needs to drive him. You're free that week, right?" I was free because I'd requested the week off. I'd planned a camping trip to Acadia National Park with 3 college friends. We'd reserved a campsite, $35 per night for 5 nights. I'd already bought new hiking boots. The cardiology appointment was at 2:30 p.m. on July 18th. It lasted 45 minutes. Dr. Catherine Patel said Grandpa's heart was fine, healthier than most 65-year-olds she treated. After the appointment, I had 7.5 days with nothing to do, but no one called to ask if I wanted to drive up to Napa. No one texted to say there's room in the car. I just sat at home and watched their Instagram stories. My father at V. Satui Winery, holding a glass of Cabernet. Brandon with his arm around our parents. The caption, "Best parents ever." I canceled my camping trip. My friends went without me. We haven't spoken much since. But the worst one, the one that still makes my chest tight when I think about it, was May 18th, 2024. A Saturday. Martha's Vineyard. My college roommate Sarah was getting married at Ocean Lawn in Edgartown. I was supposed to be a bridesmaid. I'd known about this wedding for 8 months. I'd ordered my dress, a $350 navy blue gown. I'd scheduled hair and makeup appointments, $180 total. On May 10th, 8 days before the wedding, my family sat down for dinner. My father cleared his throat. "Stella, we need to talk about the Williams wedding." The Williams family, the CEO of the company where my father works as CFO. His daughter was getting married the same day as Sarah. My family had been invited. 3 seats only. "Brandon needs to go," my father said, cutting his steak. "He'll be meeting partners from Goldman Sachs. This is a career opportunity." I set down my fork. "But I'm a bridesmaid. Sarah's been planning this for a year." "Call Sarah," my mother said. She didn't look up from her plate. "Tell her Grandpa's sick. She'll understand." "But Grandpa's not sick." "She doesn't need to know that." I called Sarah at 11:42 p.m. on May 17th, the night before her wedding. I left a voicemail because I couldn't face telling her in real time. She texted back 3 words. "I understand." No heart emoji. No, it's okay. Just those 2 words. I lost a friend that day. I lost a $350 dress and a $180 appointment. But what hurt most was when Grandpa George asked me the next morning, "Why aren't you going to the wedding?" I lied. I said I had work. I couldn't tell him the truth, that I'd been sacrificed for my brother's networking opportunity, 3 times in 3 years. 3 times they decided I didn't matter enough to include. And every time, I accepted it. I swallowed the hurt. I told myself it was just how families worked. Then came the phone call on December 17th, 2024. My mother called at 7:15 p.m. on December 17th. I'd just finished an overnight shift, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., the 11th consecutive night shift I'd worked to clear my schedule for Christmas week. I was sitting in my car in the hospital parking lot, too tired to drive home yet. "Stella," she said when I answered. No greeting, just my name, flat and businesslike. "Hi, Mom. I'm calling to let you know, Dad, Brandon, and I are going to Europe, December 18th through 31st. You need to come home and take care of Grandpa George." I sat up straighter. "Europe? For Christmas?" "Yes, we're doing Paris, Switzerland, Rome, and Barcelona. It's already booked. You'll stay at the house and make sure Grandpa takes his medications." I left a note on the kitchen counter with instructions. "Mom, I requested this week off 3 months ago. I worked 11 night shifts in a row." "Stella, you're a hospice nurse. Taking care of people is literally your job. Grandpa's 81. He can't be alone. I have to go. We're leaving tomorrow morning." The line went dead. 1 minute and 38 seconds. I checked my call log later. I sat in that parking lot for 18 minutes. I didn't cry. I didn't call back. I just stared at my calendar app. 11 night shifts, 132 hours. Also, I could have Christmas week to volunteer at the hospice on Christmas Eve and day, a tradition I'd kept for 5 years, and have dinner with coworkers on the 26th. But what struck me most wasn't anger. It was the emptiness, the realization that I'd stopped expecting anything different. I drove home the next day, December 18th, and arrived at 4:32 p.m. The sun had already set. It goes down at 4:19 p.m. in Connecticut in December. The temperature was 28 degrees Fahrenheit, with a 12-mile-per-hour wind that cut through my jacket as I walked from my Honda Civic to the front door. The driveway was empty. My father's Mercedes GLE gone. My mother's Lexus RX gone. Even Brandon's Audi A6, which he'd driven down from Manhattan that morning, gone. But smoke was rising from the chimney. I opened the front door. The house was dark except for the fireplace in the living room. 3 oak logs burning, crackling softly. And sitting in his maplewood rocking chair, the one he'd built in 1983 and repainted himself in 2019, was Grandpa George. He didn't turn around when I came in. "Hello, Grandpa," I said. "Hello, Stella." His voice was calm, steady. "You're home. Where is everyone?" "Europe. They left at 6 a.m. I walked into the kitchen and flipped on the light, taped to the refrigerator with a magnet shaped like the Eiffel Tower. The same magnet they'd brought back from a Paris trip in 2019, another trip I hadn't been invited on, was a note written on yellow legal pad paper. The edge was torn. My mother's handwriting, fast and slanted, no punctuation at the end of sentences. It read, "Stella, Dad, Mom, and Brandon are in Europe December 18th to 31st. You stay and take care of Grandpa. Medications in cabinet above sink. Schedule taped inside door. Glucose meter in bathroom drawer. Doctor appointment. December 23rd, 2:30 p.m. Dr. Patel. Address in his wallet. Groceries in fridge should last 1 week. We'll be back December 31st evening. Mom." No thank you. No please. No, we appreciate this. Not even love, Mom. Just instructions, like I was hired help. I opened the refrigerator. 4 chicken breasts, 1 bag of frozen vegetables, 6 eggs, half a loaf of bread, 3 apples. Enough food for maybe 5 days if I stretched it. I folded the note carefully and put it in my hoodie pocket. My hands were shaking slightly, but I didn't crumple it. I didn't rip it up. I just put it away. When I walked back into the living room, Grandpa George was watching me. Not with pity, not with sympathy, with something else, assessment, like he was studying me. "Grandpa, do you need anything? Water? Your medication?" "No," he said. "But I want to ask you something." I sat down on the couch across from him. The fire reflected off his bifocal glasses, metal frames from 2018, old but spotless. "Have you ever been angry?" he asked. I blinked. "What?" "At them. At your family. Have you ever been angry?" I didn't know how to answer that, so I told the truth. "I've gotten used to it." He nodded slowly. Then he said something that made no sense at the time. "Good. Then we can begin." I stared at him. "Begin what?" He smiled, just barely. "You'll see. Go rest. Tomorrow there's work to do." I went upstairs to my childhood bedroom. Everything was exactly as I'd left it 11 years ago. Twin bed, Titanic poster, old bookshelf. But on the desk was a white envelope. My grandfather's handwriting on the front. "For Stella. Open December 24th. I picked it up. Something thin inside. It felt like a check. I set it down without opening it, but I knew one thing for certain. This week wasn't going to be just about taking care of Grandpa. Something else was happening, and Grandpa George was in control. I woke up at 6:30 a.m. on December 19th. My body was still on night shift schedule, so I'd only slept 4 hours. I came downstairs to prep Grandpa's morning medications, 6 pills he took daily, according to the schedule taped inside the cabinet door. But when I reached the kitchen, I found him already awake. It was 6:32 a.m. He was standing at the counter with a screwdriver in one hand and the toaster in pieces in front of him. "Grandpa, you're up early." "I'm always up early," he said without looking up. "Sleep 6 hours. That's enough." "What are you doing?" "Fixing this." He gestured at the toaster, a Cuisinart CPT 180, 4-slot, which my parents had bought in 2019. It had stopped working 2 months ago. My father kept saying he'd buy a new one, but never did. "What's wrong with it?" "Contact spring came loose. Simple fix." He twisted a screw carefully with a Phillips head screwdriver that looked older than me, probably from 1987, based on the worn wooden handle. "Your father wanted to buy a new one, $45, but this one works fine. Just needed someone to look at it." I watched him work. His hands were steady, methodical. He used needle nose pliers to adjust a small metal piece inside, then wrapped it with electrical tape. "Why not just get a new one?" I asked. He looked at me then. Really looked at me. "Why throw away something that still works?" It felt like he wasn't just talking about the toaster. At 7 a.m., I gave him his medications: metformin for diabetes, lisinopril for blood pressure. I checked his glucose with the meter from the bathroom drawer: 118 milligrams per deciliter. Normal range is 70 to 130 for fasting. Then I took his blood pressure with the cuff I found in his bedroom: 128/82 millimeters of mercury. Also normal for his age. I wrote everything down in a notebook I'd brought from work. It's a habit from the hospice. Document everything: time, dosage, vitals, observations. Grandpa noticed. "You write a lot." "I'm used to it. At work, I have to log every medication, every vital sign, every conversation with patients." "They're lucky to have you." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just made breakfast. Scrambled eggs from 2 of the 6 eggs in the fridge, 1 slice of whole wheat toast, a sliced apple, black coffee. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then he asked, "Tell me about your work." "It's just caregiving," I said. "Nothing special." "What kind of patients?" I hesitated. Most people don't want to hear about hospice. It makes them uncomfortable. But Grandpa's expression was genuinely curious. "People who are dying," I said. "Hospice takes patients who have 6 months or less to live. We help them be comfortable. We help their families cope. We make sure they're not alone at the end." "That sounds hard." "It is. But someone has to do it." "Why did you choose it?" I set down my fork. No one had ever asked me that. Not my parents, not Brandon, not even my friends. "Because people need to be seen," I said quietly. "Even when they're dying, especially when they're dying, and most people look away." Grandpa nodded. He didn't say anything else. But his hand, resting on the table, tightened slightly, like he was holding on to something. After breakfast, I cleaned up while he sat in his rocking chair and read the newspaper. At 12:45 p.m., I made lunch. Grilled chicken breast, 5 ounces, weighed on my small kitchen scale I'd brought from my apartment. Steamed broccoli, 1 cup. Brown rice, half a cup. Low sodium, diabetic friendly. The kind of meal I'd prepare for my patients. We sat at the dining room table. Through the window, I could see the backyard dusted with a thin layer of snow. The December light was pale and cold. "Your father ever ask about your work?" Grandpa asked suddenly. I looked up. "Not really." "When was the last time?" "The day I graduated college." He asked why I didn't apply to medical school. Grandpa set down his fork. His jaw tightened. "And your mother?" She says she's proud, but she always adds, even though you could have done more." "And Brandon?" "Brandon doesn't ask about anything that isn't about Brandon." Grandpa stared at his plate for 15 seconds. Then he said, "They don't deserve you." I didn't know how to respond to that, so I changed the subject. "How's your chicken?" "Perfect," he said. But he wasn't looking at the food. He was looking at me. The next day, December 20th, a Friday, we fell into a rhythm. I woke at 6:30 a.m. Grandpa was already up, sitting in his chair reading. I prepared his 7 a.m. medications, checked his glucose: 121 milligrams per deciliter. Blood pressure: 126/80 millimeters of mercury. Logged everything. At 2 p.m., I gave him his second round of medications, a torvastatin for cholesterol. He swallowed the pill with water and then asked, "What did I do before I retired?" "You had rental properties, right?" 18 of them, he said. "Hartford and New Haven. Bought them starting in 1975. That's a lot. Bought them when nobody wanted them. After the recession in 73 and 74, real estate was cheap. I borrowed $12,000 from the bank, bought the first house for $8,500, fixed it up myself, rented it out, used the profit to buy the second one. You still have them? No, sold them all between 2008 and 2015. Prices were good. I kept the money. In the bank? In investments. Index funds mostly. I didn't think much of it at the time. Grandpa lived simply. He wore the same 3 flannel shirts, drove a 2004 Toyota Camry with 198,000 miles on it, and refused to replace his 1992 Sony Trinitron TV even though the picture was fuzzy. I assumed he had some savings, maybe a couple $100,000, enough for a comfortable retirement. I had no idea. That evening, December 21st, a Saturday, we sat in the living room after dinner. I was knitting a scarf for one of my patients, Mrs. Patterson, who loved the color navy blue. Grandpa was watching Jeopardy on his ancient TV. At 7:35 p.m. during Final Jeopardy, he muted the television. He'd never done that before. Jeopardy was sacred to him. "Stella," he said, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Are you happy?" I stopped knitting. The question caught me completely off guard. "Why do you ask?" "Because I see you. I see that you don't cry, you don't yell. They left you here, again, and you didn't say a word. You just came home and took care of me like it was normal." "I'm used to it." "Being used to something doesn't mean it's okay." I looked down at the scarf in my hands. Navy blue yarn, half finished. "I don't know what happy is anymore," I said. The room was silent except for the hum of the old TV. Then Grandpa said, "On December 24th, I want you to open the envelope on your desk. After you read it, if you have questions, ask me. I'll answer everything." "What's in it?" "You'll see." He turned the TV volume back on. Jeopardy was over. The news was starting. But before I could ask anything else, he said something that made my heart skip. "Stella, I'm going to ask you one more question. But not today. On the 24th, after you open that envelope, you'll understand something. You'll understand why I'm not leaving my money to them." I stared at him. "Leaving money? Grandpa, what are you talking about?" He smiled faintly. "December 24th, Stella. Be patient." I went to bed that night with my mind racing. What was in that envelope? What did he mean about money? But I didn't open it early. Something told me I needed to wait, that Grandpa had a plan, and interrupting it would ruin everything. December 22nd, Monday morning. I woke at 6:30 a.m. as usual and went downstairs to prepare Grandpa's medications, but when I passed his home office, a small 10 by 12-foot room he usually kept locked, I noticed the door was slightly open. I paused. I'd never been inside that room. Grandpa was private about it, but through the gap, I could see his old wooden desk and, sitting on top of it, a large manila envelope. 9 by 12 inches. The return address printed in the corner. Wilson and Associates Law Firm, 285 Main Street, Stamford, Connecticut, and stamped across the front in red ink. Confidential. Attorney-client privilege. I stepped closer. From where I stood, I could just make out part of the label. Last Will and Testament, George R. Harrison. My breath caught. "Stella?" I jumped. Grandpa was standing at the bottom of the stairs, a newspaper tucked under his arm. Do you want me to clean your office?" I asked quickly. "No need, I keep it tidy myself." "Okay." I tried to keep my voice neutral. "I just saw the door was open." He walked past me into the kitchen. "That's just paperwork, nothing for you to worry about." But the way he said it, calm, deliberate, made me think he'd left that door open on purpose, like he wanted me to see just enough to be curious. Foreshadow number 1. After breakfast, I asked, "Grandpa, do you need help with anything today? Bills? Paperwork?" He looked at me over his coffee. "No, Stella, I'm handling it. I have everything in order." "In order for what?" He smiled faintly. "You'll see soon enough." That was all he'd say. At 2:30 p.m. on December 23rd, Tuesday, I drove Grandpa to his cardiology appointment at Greenwich Cardiology, 75 Valley Drive. Dr. Catherine Patel, his cardiologist for the past 6 years, greeted us warmly. The appointment took 45 minutes. EKG, normal. Blood pressure, 126 over 80 millimeters of mercury. Heart rate, 68 beats per minute. Ejection fraction, a measure of how well the heart pumps, was 58%, which Dr. Patel said was excellent for an 81-year-old. Mr. Harrison, she said, shaking his hand, you're healthier than most 65-year-olds I see. Keep doing whatever you're doing. While Grandpa was in the exam room, I sat in the waiting area scrolling through my phone. At 3:12 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Stella Harrison? Yes. This is Jonathan Wilson from Wilson and Associates. I'm your grandfather's attorney. My stomach dropped. Is everything okay? Everything is fine, he said smoothly. Your grandfather asked me to call you. He scheduled a meeting at his home on December 26th at 10 a.m. He'd like you to be present. A meeting? For what? I'm not at liberty to discuss details over the phone, but I can assure you it's a positive matter. Will you be available? Yes. Excellent. I'll see you then, Miss Harrison. The line went dead. When Grandpa came out of the exam room, I was still holding my phone. Someone named Mr. Wilson called me, I said carefully. I know. Why do you need me at a meeting? Because it concerns you too. Grandpa, what's going on? He stopped walking and looked at me directly. Stella, on the 24th, you're going to open that envelope I left you. After you read it, you'll understand more. But I'll tell you this now. On the 26th, Mr. Wilson is coming to explain something important. And you need to be there because you're part of it. Part of what? You'll see. That night, I barely slept. December 24th, Christmas Eve. I woke at 6 a.m., too anxious to stay in bed. I went to my desk and stared at the white envelope for 5 full minutes before finally opening it. Inside was a check. $5,000. Wells Fargo. Check number 1823. Made out to Stella Marie Harrison. Dated December 17th, 2024. Signed in Grandpa's shaky but clear handwriting. Beneath the check was a letter, 2 pages, handwritten on lined paper. I sat on my bed and read, My dear Stella, if you're reading this, it's December 24th and you've been with me for 6 days. I want you to know something. I've seen everything. Thanksgiving 2021. They left you. Summer 2023. They left you. May 2024. They left you. And now, Christmas 2024. They left you again. I didn't say anything before because I needed to be sure. I needed to see what kind of person you are when no one's watching. When there's no reward, no recognition, just duty. And now I know. You took care of me this week not because you had to. You did it because that's who you are. You checked my medications like you check your patients' medications. You made my meals like you make meals for people you love. You didn't complain. You didn't ask for anything. You were just here. The $5,000 check is my Christmas gift to you. It's yours. Don't share it. Don't feel guilty. It's yours because you earned it. Not through work, but through character. On December 26th, Mr. Wilson will come to the house. He's going to explain something that will change everything. And I need you to know this before he does. I'm not a poor man, Stella. I have money. A lot of it. More than your father knows. More than anyone knows except my attorney and my accountant. And I'm leaving most of it to you. Not because you're my granddaughter, but because you're the only person in this family who understands what it means to care for someone without expecting anything in return. Your father will be upset. Your mother will cry. Brandon will be furious. But here's the truth. They don't need my money. They've never needed it. What they needed was to learn to see you as a person, not a servant. And they failed. I'm giving you the power to decide what happens next. Not me. You. On the 26th, you'll understand. I love you, Stella. And I'm sorry I didn't say this sooner. Grandpa George. I read the letter 3 times. By the third time, I was crying. Not sad crying. Not angry crying. Just release. Like a pressure valve had finally opened. Someone saw me. After 10 years of being invisible, someone finally saw me. Foreshadow number 2. I folded the letter, put it in my hoodie pocket, and went downstairs. Grandpa was sitting in his rocking chair, a cup of coffee in his hand. You read it? He asked. I nodded. I couldn't speak yet. Do you have questions? How much money do you have? He set down his coffee. $20,180,000, give or take, depending on the stock market. I sat down hard on the couch. 20 million? From the rental properties. I sold them for about 4.8 million after taxes. Invested it all in index funds in 2008. It's been growing ever since. But you live like I'm poor? He smiled. Money doesn't change who you are, Stella. It just shows who you were all along. I don't need a big house or a fancy car. I have everything I need. And you're giving it to me? Most of it, yes. 15.2 million. The rest goes to charity and a few other things, but you'll learn the details on the 26th. I couldn't process it. Grandpa, they're going to lose their minds. I know. They'll fight this. They can't. I've had 2 doctors certify my mental competency. The will is airtight. But here's the part that matters, Stella. I'm not just giving you money, I'm giving you power. What do you mean? You'll see on the 26th. But I'll tell you this. Your father, your mother, Brandon, they'll have a chance to earn some of the money back. But only if they prove they've changed, and you'll be the one who decides if they have. Me? Yes, because you're the only one who knows what it's like to be treated the way they treated you. You're the only one who can judge if their apology is real. I stared at him. You're serious. Completely. That evening, we had a quiet Christmas Eve dinner. I made roasted chicken thighs, skin removed, low sodium, with mashed potatoes and green beans, no ham, no turkey, just a simple meal for 2 people. We ate by candlelight. Not real candles, LED flameless ones, because Grandpa hated wasting electricity. After dinner, he handed me a blue folder. Read this, he said. Inside was a 3-page document, typed, single-spaced. The title at the top, Estate Summary, George R. Harrison. The first line read, Total assets as of December 1st, 2024, $20,180,000. I looked up at him. My hands were shaking. Now you know, he said. On the 26th, you'll know what happens to it. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to wrap my mind around the number. $20 million. And most of it was coming to me. But it wasn't the money that kept me awake. It was the power Grandpa had mentioned. The idea that I would decide whether my family deserved forgiveness. I didn't know if I was ready for that, but I was about to find out. While I was checking Grandpa's glucose levels and meal prepping diabetic-friendly dinners, my family was living their best life across the Atlantic. I know because I watched every post. December 19th, Paris. My mother posted a photo at 2:47 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:47 p.m. in Paris. The Eiffel Tower lit up against the night sky. She, my father, and Brandon stood in front of it, arms around each other, smiling like catalog models. Caption: Eiffel Tower at sunset, living our best life. Hashtag Paris love, hashtag family vacation. They were staying at Le Meurice, a 5-star hotel on Rue de Rivoli. I looked it up. €850 per night. 4 nights in Paris. €3,400 total, which converted to $3,655. December 20th. Brandon posted a photo from inside a restaurant. White tablecloths, crystal chandeliers, a waiter in a tuxedo pouring wine. Caption: Dinner at Le Jules Verne. Michelin star never tasted so good. Hashtag living large. Le Jules Verne is located inside the Eiffel Tower. I looked up the menu. €450 per person for the tasting menu. 4 people. €1,800. That's $1,935 for one meal. I was eating leftover chicken and rice at Grandpa's kitchen table when I saw that post. I didn't feel angry. I felt distant, like I was watching strangers. December 21st. Versailles. My father posted 4 photos: the Hall of Mirrors, the gardens, a private tour guide in a period costume. Caption: Versailles Palace, where kings lived. Feeling royal today, #history, #luxury. Private tour for 4 people, €600. That's $645. Just to walk through a palace. December 22nd. My mother posted again. A Seine River cruise. The 4 of them, my parents and Brandon, standing on the deck of a boat, champagne glasses raised. Caption: Seine River cruise with my boys. Perfect family moment. #blessed #family. Dinner cruise on the Seine. €150 per person. 4 people, €600. Another $645. I was looking at that post at 11:34 p.m. on December 22nd. I'd just given Grandpa his final medications for the day. I scrolled through all 12 photos they'd posted from Paris. 12 photos in 4 days. Then I saw a comment from my Aunt Susan, my father's older sister. "Where's Stella?" My mother replied 6 minutes later. "She's home taking care of Dad. Someone has to." I read that smiley face emoji 3 times. Then I set my phone down. I didn't comment. I didn't like anything. I just closed the app. But something inside me clicked into place, a kind of clarity. They weren't going to change. Not ever. December 23rd through 25th. Switzerland, the Swiss Alps, Zermatt. Brandon posted a photo of himself on skis, the Matterhorn looming in the background. Caption: Skiing Matterhorn on Christmas Eve. This is what dreams are made of. #Swiss Alps, #Christmas magic. They were staying at the Omnia, a luxury hotel carved into the mountainside. 1,200 Swiss francs per night. 3 nights, 3,600 Swiss francs. That's $4,140. Ski lift passes, 180 Swiss francs per person per day. 4 people, 2 days of skiing. Duo tuxtanciai keturi shimtai, keturias de shimt, Schweizarios francu. Another $1,656. On December 25th, Christmas Day, my mother posted a photo from their Christmas lunch: a rustic wooden chalet, fondue pots, wine bottles, everyone in matching red sweaters. Caption: Christmas lunch at Chalet d'Adrienne, champagne, fondue, and family #Merry Christmas, #family goals, 350 Swiss francs per person for the Christmas menu. 4 people, 1,400 Swiss francs. That's $1,610 for one meal. I was sitting with Grandpa George in his living room when I saw that post. We'd just finished our own Christmas lunch: roasted chicken, green beans, mashed potatoes. Simple, quiet. Grandpa noticed me staring at my phone. "What are you looking at?" "Their Christmas lunch in Switzerland. It cost more than my monthly rent." He was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "Do you think they're happy?" I thought about that. I don't know. They look happy. Looking happy and being happy are 2 different things. I showed him the photo. He studied it for a long time. "You know what I see?" he said finally. "What?" 3 people who need expensive things to feel valuable, and 1 person who's missing. He handed my phone back. "Stella, how much did our Christmas lunch cost?" I calculated quickly. "Maybe $25? Chicken was on sale." "And were you happy?" I looked at him. at his old flannel shirt, his worn slippers, the fireplace crackling with wood he'd chopped himself. "Yeah," I said. "I was." He nodded. "That's the difference." December 26th through 29th, Rome. The posts kept coming. My father at the Colosseum, my mother at the Vatican, Brandon throwing a coin into the Trevi Fountain. His caption, "Trevi Fountain wish? More trips like this #Rome, #living my best life." They stayed at Hotel de Rossi, a five-star hotel near Piazza del Popolo. €680 per night. 4 nights, €2,720. That's $2,925. Private Vatican tour with early entry, €800. Dinner at La Pergola, a 3 Michelin star restaurant, €420 per person. 4 people. €1,680. Another $1,806 for one meal. I stopped keeping track after that. The numbers were too big, too absurd. By my rough count, they'd spent at least $18,600 in 10 days. Not including flights, not including shopping, not including tips. Meanwhile, I'd worked 168 hours for free. On December 30th, Brandon posted one final photo. Barcelona Airport, all 3 of them with their luggage, smiling at the camera. Caption: Barcelona to home, 2 weeks, 4 countries, memories forever. Thanks mom and dad for the best trip ever. #family trip, #back to reality, #blessed. 47 likes. 8 comments. All from their friends. Not one person asked where I was. I read the caption again. Thanks mom and dad for the best trip ever. Not thanks for the opportunity, not grateful for this experience. Just, best trip ever. Like it was owed to him. I put my phone away. I didn't need to see anymore. I already knew everything I needed to know. They'd be home in less than 24 hours. And they had no idea what was waiting for them. December 31st. 11:18 p.m. I heard the cars pull into the driveway. First my father's Mercedes. Then my mother's Lexus. Then Brandon's Audi, which he'd left at the house before the trip. Doors slammed. Suitcases wheeled across the pavement. Voices. Tired. Irritable from the 10-hour flight from Barcelona to JFK, plus the 90-minute drive home. I was at the kitchen sink washing the dinner dishes. Grandpa was in his rocking chair reading. The front door opened. "Dad?" my mother called. "We're home! Is everything okay?" Grandpa didn't get up. "Everything's fine, Patricia. Come in." My mother walked into the living room, pulling a massive 28-inch suitcase behind her. She looked tan. Expensive. Her coat was new, probably bought in Paris. "Stella took good care of you?" she asked. "Very good care." My father came in next, dropping his carry-on by the door. "Longest flight of my life. Do we have any beer, Stella?" "In the fridge," I said without turning around. Brandon walked past me without a word. He went straight to the refrigerator, grabbed a Heineken, and slumped onto the couch. "God, I'm exhausted," he muttered. My mother sat down across from Grandpa. "Did you have your doctor's appointment?" "Yes," I said, drying a plate. "December 23rd. Dr. Patel said he's in great health." "Good," my father said. He didn't look at me. "So everything's fine? Great." That was it. No thank you. No, how was your week? No acknowledgement that I'd just spent 168 hours taking care of his father while they drank champagne in 5-star hotels. I finished washing the dishes, dried my hands, and went upstairs. As I passed the living room, I heard my mother say, "Tomorrow someone's coming at 10 a.m. Dad, who is it?" Grandpa's voice was calm. "A lawyer. Jonathan Wilson. I asked him to come." "A lawyer? For what?" "You'll see tomorrow." "Dad, if this is about updating your will, you don't need a whole meeting. Patricia, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Everyone needs to be here." My mother didn't argue, but I could hear the curiosity in her voice. The assumption that this was routine, bureaucratic, nothing important, they had no idea. January 2nd, 2025. 9:52 a.m. Jonathan Wilson arrived 8 minutes early. I watched from the upstairs window as he parked a black Lexus sedan in the driveway and stepped out carrying a leather briefcase. He was tall, late 50s, wearing a charcoal suit and a crimson tie. Everything about him said precision, authority. I came downstairs. Grandpa was already in the living room, sitting in his rocking chair. My parents and Brandon were on the couch, casual, relaxed. My father wore jeans and a polo shirt. My mother had a cup of coffee in her hand. Brandon was scrolling through his phone. The doorbell rang. I opened it. "Good morning," Mr. Wilson said. His handshake was firm, professional. "You must be Stella. Your grandfather has told me a great deal about you." "Nice to meet you." He stepped inside and greeted Grandpa with a warm handshake. Then he turned to my family. "Richard, Patricia, Brandon, thank you for being here." "Of course," my father said, standing to shake his hand. "So what's this about, Dad? Just updating the will?" Grandpa didn't answer. He gestured to the chair across from him. "Jonathan, please, let's begin." Mr. Wilson set his briefcase on the coffee table and opened it. Inside were 4 color-coded folders: green, blue, red, yellow, a laptop, and a legal pad. He opened the laptop, tapped a few keys, and then looked up. "Mr. Harrison has asked me to present his last will and testament, finalized and executed on December 15th, 2024. Brandon laughed. "Dad, you don't need a lawyer to tell us this. We're family." Grandpa's voice was ice. "Sit down, Brandon, and listen." Brandon's smile faded. He sat. Mr. Wilson opened the green folder. "Before we proceed, I want to clarify something. This will has been reviewed by 2 independent physicians who have certified Mr. George Harrison's mental competency. He is of sound mind and body. This document is legally binding." My mother shifted uncomfortably. "Of course he is. No one's questioning that." Mr. Wilson nodded. "Good. Then let's begin." He pulled up a slide on his laptop and turned the screen toward us. As of December 1st, 2024, Mr. George Harrison's total estate is valued at $20,180,000. Silence. Then Brandon's voice, almost a whisper. "Wait. What?" "20 million," my mother said, her coffee cup frozen halfway to her mouth. "Dad, you have $20 million?" My father stood up. "How? You live on Social Security. You drive a 15-year-old car." Grandpa's expression didn't change. "Because I don't need more than that." "But where did it come from?" Mr. Wilson answered. "Mr. Harrison sold 18 rental properties between 2008 and 2015. The proceeds, approximately $4.8 million after taxes, were invested in S&P 500 index funds. Over 14 years, with an average annual return of 12.8%, those investments have grown to just over 20 million. He clicked to the next slide. A breakdown. Vanguard investment accounts. $18,200,000. Wells Fargo Savings/CDs. $1,580,000. Home equity. $400,000. Total. $20,180,000. My father was pacing now. "Why didn't you tell us? We're your family." "Why did you need to know?" Grandpa asked calmly. "Because we're your son, your daughter-in-law, your grandson." "And?" My father stopped pacing. And we could have helped you manage it. We could have." "You could have what, Richard? Spent it?" My mother set down her coffee cup. Her hands were shaking. "Dad, this is incredible. But why keep it a secret?" "Because I wanted to see who you really were," Grandpa said. "When you thought I had nothing." Mr. Wilson cleared his throat. "Shall I continue with the distribution?" "Yes," Grandpa said. Mr. Wilson opened the blue folder and read from a printed document. The estate will be distributed as follows: to Stella Marie Harrison, $15,200,000. To the National Hospice Foundation, $3 million. To 3 medical charities: the American Heart Association, Diabetes Research Institute, and Arthritis Foundation, $600,000 each, totaling $1,800,000. To Richard Harrison, Patricia Harrison, and Brandon Harrison, $0. 8 seconds of absolute silence. Then Brandon exploded. What? He shot to his feet. Grandpa, this is fucking insane! My mother's face crumpled. Dad, you can't do this. We're your family. My father turned to me, his face red. Stella? You knew about this? I didn't answer. I just sat there, hands folded in my lap. She manipulated him, Brandon shouted, pointing at me. She stayed here for 2 weeks and poisoned him against us. Brandon, sit down, mister. Sit down, Wilson said sharply. No, this is bullshit. Grandpa, you're not thinking straight. I am thinking very clearly, Grandpa said. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the room like a blade. Clearer than I have in years. My mother was crying now. Fake tears, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue she'd pulled from her purse. Dad, I've taken care of you for 30 years. Stella was only here for 7 days. Exactly, Grandpa said. Mr. Wilson held up a hand. Please, I'm not finished. Everyone went silent. There is a condition, he said. Stella has been given the authority to alter this distribution if she chooses. My father's head snapped toward me. Alter it? What does that mean? Mr. Wilson continued. If Richard, Patricia, or Brandon complete certain requirements within 1 year, Stella may choose to allocate up to $500,000 to each of them. But the decision is entirely hers, and it's final. My mother grabbed my hand. Stella, sweetheart, you'll give us the money, right? I pulled my hand away. I haven't decided yet, I said quietly. And for the first time in my life, I watched my family realize they had no power over me anymore. The room exploded. 10:08 a.m. Brandon was on his feet, pacing, hands in his hair. My mother was crying, loudly now, no tissue, just open sobbing. My father stood in the center of the room, face red, veins visible on his neck. For 20 minutes they yelled, pleaded, accused. I sat on the couch and said nothing. 10:11 a.m. Brandon, this is insane. I'm your only grandson, Grandpa. To 14 a.m. My mother. Stella doesn't need $15 million. She's a nurse. She's used to living on less. To 17 a.m. My father. Dad, you're not thinking clearly. Stella's only 29. She doesn't know how to manage that kind of money. 10:20 a.m. Brandon turning on me. You did this, didn't you? You manipulated him while we were gone. I didn't respond. I just looked at him. Calm. Detached. Stella! My mother shrieked. Say something. Tell us what you did. I stayed silent. My father moved closer to Grandpa. Dad, this is a mistake. Stella doesn't deserve this. She deserves it more than any of you, Grandpa said. 10:25 a.m. My mother, desperate now. Dad, we've always been there for you. We've always... When? Grandpa's voice was sharp. When were you there for me? My mother blinked. What? When were you there? When did you call to check on me? When did you visit without needing something? When did you ask how I was feeling? Silence. 28 a.m. Grandpa raised his hand. Enough. Everyone stopped talking. I'm going to tell you something, Grandpa said, and you're going to listen. He reached down beside his rocking chair and pulled out a small notebook. Brown leather cover, worn edges. He opened it to a bookmarked page. Thanksgiving 2021. You went to Turks and Caicos. You told Stella I was sick and she needed to stay home. But I wasn't sick. I had a cold for 2 days. You lied to her so you could go on vacation without her. My mother opened her mouth to speak. I'm not done, Grandpa said. He flipped a page. July 2023, Napa Valley. 8 days. You told Stella I had a doctor's appointment and she needed to drive me. The appointment was 45 minutes. 45 minutes, Patricia. And you couldn't call her after and invite her to join you? My mother's face went pale. Grandpa turned another page. May 2024. Martha's Vineyard. Stella was supposed to be a bridesmaid in her best friend's wedding, but you gave her seat to Brandon because he needed to network. You made her lie to her friend and say I was sick. But I wasn't sick. I went fishing that day. Brandon tried to interrupt. Grandpa, that's not… Shut up. Grandpa's voice cracked like a whip. I'm not finished. He closed the notebook and set it on his lap. And then there's this Christmas. You spent $32,000 on a trip to Europe. You didn't ask Stella if she wanted to go. You just left a note on the counter, like she was the hired help. My mother was sobbing again. Dad, we didn't mean… Yes, you did, Grandpa's shout echoed through the room. I'd never heard him raise his voice before. You did mean it. You've been doing it for 10 years. You've treated Stella like she doesn't matter because her job isn't as important as Brandon's, because she doesn't make as much money, because she's a woman who chose to care for dying people instead of chasing a corner office. He stood up, slowly, carefully, using the arm of the chair for support. You want to know why I'm leaving my money to Stella? Because she's the only person in this family who understands what it means to care for someone without expecting anything back. He pointed at my father. You've never asked her about her job, not once. He pointed at my mother. You've never thanked her for the time she stayed home with me. He pointed at Brandon. And you've never even noticed she exists unless you need something. The room was silent except for my mother's quiet crying. Grandpa sat back down. Now, he said, his voice calm again, Mr. Wilson is going to explain the conditions. If you meet them, Stella might choose to give you some money, but that's her decision, not mine, not yours, hers. Mr. Wilson opened the red folder. The conditions are as follows, he said. Each of you must complete all 3 requirements within 365 days. He read from the document. 1. Volunteer 200 hours at a hospice, nursing home, or similar care facility. Direct caregiving only. No administrative work. No financial donations in lieu of time. Verified by facility administration. 2. Write a letter of apology to Stella. Minimum 500 words, handwritten. Must explain what you did wrong, why it was wrong, and how you plan to change. Delivered through me. 3. Attend 4 family therapy sessions with Stella, if Stella agrees to participate. He looked up. If you complete these requirements, Stella may choose to allocate up to $500,000 to you. Or she may choose to allocate nothing. The decision is hers alone. No appeals, no legal challenges. Brandon stared at him. You're saying we have to grovel for money that should be ours? No, Grandpa said. I'm giving you a chance to prove you care about Stella more than you care about money. My father's voice was hoarse. And if we don't do it? Then you get nothing, Grandpa said simply. And Stella keeps the full $15 million. My mother turned to me, mascara streaking down her face. Stella, please. We're your family. You'll forgive us, right? I met her eyes, and for the first time in my life, I didn't flinch. I don't know yet, I said. I stood up, walked out of the room, and went upstairs. Behind me, I heard my mother scream, Stella! You can't do this! We're your family! I closed my bedroom door. They didn't understand yet, but they would. I stayed in my room for 2 hours while chaos erupted downstairs. Raised voices, doors slamming. At one point, I heard my mother sobbing in the hallway outside my door. I didn't open it. At 12:47 p.m., there was a soft knock. Stella? It was Mr. Wilson. May I come in? I opened the door. He stood there, briefcase in hand, looking calm despite the storm he'd just unleashed downstairs. I wanted to give you something, he said. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a cream-colored envelope, thicker than normal paper. Expensive. Your grandfather asked me to give this to you privately, after the reading. I took it. My name was written on the front in Grandpa's handwriting. He also wanted me to explain the will in more detail, Mr. Wilson said. Do you have a few minutes? I nodded and let him in. We sat, him in my desk chair, me on the edge of my bed. He opened his laptop and pulled up a document. The full will is 18 pages, he said. But I'll summarize the key sections. He scrolled to Article 1. Your portion is $15,200,000. It's structured as follows: $5,200,000 in liquid assets, accessible within 30 days once probate clears. The remaining $10 million is in a trust, managed by Vanguard, but you're the sole trustee. You can access it any time, no restrictions. Why split it like that? Your grandfather wanted you to have immediate funds for any needs, paying off debts, buying a home, whatever you choose. The trust is for long-term security, but it's entirely your decision how to use it. I nodded slowly. He scrolled to Article 4. This is the section about your father, mother, and Brandon. He turned the laptop toward me so I could read. Article 4. Richard, Patricia, and Brandon Harrison. To my son Richard, my daughter-in-law Patricia, and my grandson Brandon, I leave nothing from my financial estate. This is not born of anger or spite. It is born from observation and disappointment. Richard, you earn $185,000 per year as CFO of a regional insurance company. Patricia, you earn $92,000 as a marketing director. Brandon, you earn $285,000 as a corporate attorney. Combined, your household income exceeds $500,000 annually. You do not need my money to survive. You have never needed it. Yet you have taught your children, my grandchildren, that worth is measured by income, that careers are ranked by prestige, and that service to others is beneath you. You dismissed Stella's calling as low-wage work while celebrating Brandon's legal career. You sent Brandon to Europe while leaving Stella to care for me, unpaid and unthanked. I watched for 10 years. I said nothing. I waited to see if you would change. You did not. Stella worked 11 consecutive overnight shifts to have Christmas free. You took that from her with a note on the counter. You did not ask. You did not thank her. You simply assumed she would comply, because she always has. I am leaving my money to Stella not to punish you, but to honor her. If you feel punished, ask yourselves why. I read it twice. My throat tightened. He wrote this himself? I asked. Every word. I helped him with legal phrasing, but the content is entirely his. Mr. Wilson scrolled to Article 5. This is the section about the conditions. Article 5. Conditional bequest. I recognize that people can change. Therefore, I offer Richard, Patricia, and Brandon an opportunity to demonstrate growth. Conditions. Must complete all within 365 days. 1. Volunteer 200 hours at a hospice facility, nursing home, or similar care institution. Hours must be verified by facility administration. No financial donations in lieu of time. 2. Write a letter of apology to Stella, minimum 500 words, handwritten, explaining specifically what behaviors were harmful, why those behaviors were wrong, how they plan to change. Letters will be delivered to Stella through Mr. Jonathan Wilson. She is under no obligation to respond. 3. Attend 4 family therapy sessions with Stella, if Stella agrees to attend. Sessions must focus on repairing the relationship, not contesting this will. If conditions are met, Stella Harrison, at her sole discretion, may choose to allocate up to $500,000 to each person who completes the requirements. This is not a guarantee. It is an opportunity for Stella to extend grace if she believes change is genuine. Stella's decision is final. No appeals, no legal challenges. If Stella chooses not to allocate funds even after conditions are met, the $1.5 million remains in her estate. 200 hours, I said. That's about 4 hours a week, For 50 weeks, Mr. Wilson said, or 17 hours a month for a year. Your grandfather chose that number deliberately. You worked 168 hours in 7 days, unpaid. He wanted them to work 200 hours over a full year to even begin to understand what you do. I looked at him. What if they don't do it? Then they get nothing, and you keep the full 15 million. And if they do it, but I still say no, then you keep the full 15 million. Stella, your grandfather gave you complete power here. He's not forcing you to forgive them. He's giving you the choice. I set the laptop aside and picked up the envelope he'd given me earlier. I opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten letter, 4 pages. I recognized Grandpa's shaky script immediately. Stella, my dear, by the time you read this, you will know you are a millionaire. But I did not make you wealthy. You already were. Wealth is not measured in money. It is measured in how you treat people when there is nothing to gain. You cared for me this week because you are a caregiver, not because I could pay you, not because I would leave you anything, but because it is who you are. I have watched you for 10 years. I have watched your father ignore your accomplishments. I have watched your mother compare you to other people's children. I have watched Brandon treat you like a servant. And I have watched you endure it with grace I do not possess. You never asked for recognition. You never demanded respect. You just kept showing up, kept caring, kept being good. And that is why you are getting my money. Not because you are my granddaughter, but because you are the person I wish I had raised my son to be. I am giving you power, Stella, the power to decide their fate. Not as a burden, but as a gift. You have spent your life being powerless in this family. They decided for you. They excluded you. They used you. Now you decide. You hold their future in your hands, not because you manipulated anyone, not because you schemed, but because you showed up when no one else would. Use this power wisely, but use it for yourself. You owe them nothing. If they change, truly change, and you wish to forgive, that is your choice. If you do not, that is also your choice. Either way, you are free. One more thing, Stella. The $3 million I am leaving to the National Hospice Foundation, I am designating it to establish the Stella Harrison Caregiver Excellence Fund. It will provide scholarships to hospice nursing students. I want your name attached to something that honors what you do. I want the world to see what I see, that caring for the dying is not a low calling, it is the highest. Thank you for teaching me that. With all my love, Grandpa George. I finished reading and set the letter down on my bed. My hands were shaking. Mr. Wilson stood. I'll leave you alone. But if you have questions, call me any time. My direct number is on my card. Thank you. He paused at the door. Stella, I've been practicing estate law for 32 years. I've seen a lot of families fight over money. But I've never seen a will like this. Your grandfather didn't write this to punish anyone. He wrote it to give you a voice. Don't be afraid to use it. After he left, I sat on my bed holding Grandpa's letter. Downstairs I could hear my mother crying. My father's voice low and angry. Brandon on the phone, probably calling one of his lawyer friends. But up here, in my childhood bedroom, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. For the first time in my life, I had power. Real power. Not the power to hurt them, but the power to choose. And I didn't know yet what I was going to do with it. But I had a year to decide. The first text came at 2:03 p.m. Mom, Stella, please come downstairs. We need to talk about this as a family. I deleted it without responding. 2:47 p.m. Mom, sweetheart, I know you're upset, but we can work this out together. Delete. 3:15 p.m. Brandon, Stella, call me. This is insane. We need to figure out how to fix this. Delete. 4:22 p.m. Dad, Stella, your grandfather is clearly not thinking straight. We need to talk to his doctor. Delete. By 6 p.m., I'd received 17 texts from my mother, 12 from my father, and 23 from Brandon. I blocked all 3 of them. Then I packed an overnight bag, went downstairs, and found Grandpa sitting in his rocking chair, reading the newspaper like nothing had happened. "I'm going to stay with a friend for a few days," I said. He looked up. "Good idea. Will you be okay?" "I'll be fine. They won't bother me. They're too busy trying to figure out how to get to you." I kissed him on the forehead. "Thank you, Grandpa." He squeezed my hand. "You're doing the right thing, Stella. Don't let them make you doubt that." As I walked toward the door, my mother appeared at the top of the stairs. "Stella, where are you going?" I didn't stop. I just kept walking. "Stella!" Her voice cracked. "You can't just leave. We need to talk about this." I opened the front door. "How long are you going to punish us?" she screamed. I paused, turned, looked up at her. "I'm not punishing you," I said quietly. "I'm protecting myself." Then I left. January 3rd. My father called a meeting with 3 different attorneys. I know because Brandon posted about it in a now-deleted Instagram story. The first attorney, Wilson County Law, charged $450 per hour. The consultation lasted 90 minutes. Total, $675. According to a voicemail my father left, before I blocked his number, the attorney said, "Your father was examined by 2 physicians who certified his mental competency. He scored 29 out of 30 on the mini mental state examination. That's better than most 60-year-olds. You have no case." The second attorney, Stamford Estate Law, charged $500 per hour, 2-hour consultation. Total, $1,000. That attorney apparently told Brandon, "Can you prove Stella coerced him? Did she isolate him from you? Did she control his finances before this? No? Then you have no case. In fact, your family's pattern of excluding her strengthens your grandfather's argument." The third attorney, Hartford Probate Specialists, charged $425 per hour for a 1-hour phone consultation. Final verdict: contesting this will would cost between $50,000 and $150,000 in legal fees, with less than a 5% chance of success. They spent $2,100 on consultations in 1 day. And every attorney told them the same thing: they had no case. January 6th. My father sent an email to the family. I didn't see it until my Aunt Susan, my father's older sister, forwarded it to me. Subject: family meeting. Urgent. We need to discuss a strategy. The lawyers say we can't fight the will legally, but Stella is still our daughter/sister. She'll forgive us if we approach this right. We need to complete the 200 volunteer hours, write the letters, and do the therapy. Then we'll get $500,000 each. It's better than nothing. I know it feels manipulative, but this is about survival. We're a family. We stick together. Meeting Sunday, 6 p.m. Don't tell Stella. I read it 3 times. Then I forwarded it to Mr. Wilson with a single line, FYI. He replied, "Noted, this may be useful later." January 8th. The social media fallout began. My mother deleted all 47 posts from the Europe trip. Every single one. The Eiffel Tower photo, the Versailles selfie, the Swiss Alps skiing video, the Trevi Fountain wish. Gone. Brandon changed his Instagram to private. My father stopped posting entirely. But Aunt Susan, who'd always liked me more than she liked my father, posted a photo of us from 5 years ago with the caption, "Proud of my niece Stella for standing up for herself. Some people need to learn that family is about love, not obligation." Within an hour, 3 of my cousins had sent me DMs. "Stella, I heard what happened. Good for you. Your dad always treated you like crap. I'm glad someone finally called him out. If you need anything, I'm here." The family narrative was shifting, slowly, but shifting. On January 10th, my mother made one last attempt. She posted an old photo of me from when I was 5 years old. Pigtails, gap-toothed smile, holding a stuffed bunny. Caption: "Missing my baby girl. Family is forever." Comments were disabled. A friend screenshotted it and sent it to me. I stared at that photo for a long time. At the little girl who didn't know yet that family is forever, would become a weapon, a guilt trip, a chain. I didn't respond. I didn't comment. I didn't reach out. I just thought, they still don't understand. They thought this was about money. It wasn't. It was about being seen, being valued, being treated like I mattered. And I was about to find out if they could ever learn that. February 1st, 2025. The volunteer hours began. Brandon signed up at Riverside Nursing Home, the same healthcare network where I worked, just a different building 12 miles away. I found out through a coworker who saw his name on the volunteer roster. "Your brother's here 4 hours a week," she told me over coffee. "He looks miserable." I checked the facility's public volunteer logs. Brandon logged his first shift on February 1st. 4 hours, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. By May 28th, he'd completed exactly 205 hours. 5 hours over the minimum. My mother signed up at Hartford Hospice Center, 18 miles from home. She logged 203 hours between February 5th and May 30th. My father chose New Haven Senior Care, 22 miles away. He logged 201 hours between February 10th and May 25th. All three of them did the bare minimum. But the real story wasn't in the hours, it was in the staff reports. Mr. Wilson had arranged for facility supervisors to submit confidential evaluations if I wanted them. I did. Riverside Nursing Home. Volunteer evaluation. Brandon Harrison. Mr. Harrison is competent in basic tasks but demonstrates visible resentment. On March 3rd, he told a patient's family member, "I'm only here because I have to be." The family was upset. On April 12th, he asked if lunch breaks could count toward his hours. They cannot. Overall, fulfills duties but lacks genuine engagement. Hartford Hospice Center. Volunteer evaluation. Patricia Harrison. Mrs. Harrison completes minimum required tasks, but shows little connection with residents. She frequently asks how much longer until 200 hours. She arrives late approximately 40% of the time and leaves early when possible. Adequate performance, but no indication of authentic compassion. New Haven Senior Care. Volunteer evaluation. Richard Harrison. Mr. Harrison avoids tasks involving bodily fluids or personal care. He requests reassignment to administrative work frequently, which we deny per the will's requirements. He does what is asked but nothing more. Several staff members have noted his visible discomfort around patients. I read all three reports on May 31st, 200 hours, spread across 4 months, and every single one of them hated it. They didn't volunteer because they wanted to understand my work. They did it because they wanted $500,000. June 15th, 2025. The apology letters arrived. Mr. Wilson called me first. "I have 3 letters for you. Do you want them mailed, or would you prefer to pick them up?" "I'll pick them up." I drove to his office in Stamford. He handed me a manila folder containing 3 handwritten letters, each in its own envelope. I took them to a coffee shop and read them in order. Brandon's letter, 523 words. "Dear Stella, I am writing to apologize for my past actions. I realize now that I may have hurt your feelings by not including you in family activities. I was focused on my career and did not think about how my choices affected you. I am sorry if you felt excluded. I hope we can move forward as a family. I have learned a lot from volunteering, and I understand now that caregiving is important work." It went on like that for another 400 words, generic, detached, not a single specific incident mentioned. The phrase that stuck out, "I'm sorry if you felt excluded," not, "I'm sorry I excluded you," but, "if you felt." Like it was my perception that was the problem. My mother's letter, 612 words. "My dear Stella, a mother's love is forever, and I want you to know I have always loved you. I am sorry that my actions made you feel less important than Brandon. That was never my intention. I was trying to help Brandon succeed, And sometimes I made choices that hurt you. I regret that. I have been volunteering at the hospice and I see now how hard your job is. You are a wonderful nurse. I am proud of you. I hope you can forgive me and we can be a family again. She spent 200 words talking about how much she loved me. Another 150 words defending why she prioritized Brandon. Only 100 words actually acknowledging harm. And then, at the end, I hope you can forgive me. She was asking for forgiveness before she'd earned it. My father's letter, 500. 4 words. Stella, I am writing this letter because the will requires it, but I want you to know my feelings are sincere. I am sorry for the times I did not appreciate your career choice. I now understand that hospice nursing is valuable work. I am also sorry for not asking you to join us on family trips. I thought you were busy with work and preferred to stay home. I was wrong. I should have asked. I have completed 201 hours of volunteering as required. I hope this demonstrates my commitment to change. The opening line, I am writing this letter because the will requires it. He admitted in writing that this was transactional, and the phrase, I thought you preferred to stay home, was gaslighting. He never asked. He never checked. He just assumed, and now he was rewriting history to make it sound like a misunderstanding instead of neglect. I set the letters down on the table. 500 words each, handwritten, technically meeting the requirements, but none of them said, I was wrong. Not without a qualifier, not without an excuse. I texted Mr. Wilson, can I require them to rewrite these if I think they're insufficient? He replied, technically, they've fulfilled the condition. The will says, write a letter, not write a letter Stella approves of. But your final decision is yours regardless. I stared at my phone. They'd done everything Grandpa asked, 200 hours, 3 letters, and soon 4 therapy sessions. But they'd done it all for the wrong reasons. July through October. 4 therapy sessions, 90 minutes each. Dr. Emma Reeves, a licensed marriage and family therapist, with 18 years of experience, facilitated. In session 1, July 15th, my mother cried and said she never meant to hurt me. In session 2, August 12th, Brandon accused me of holding this over their heads. In session 3, September 10th, my father asked, don't you think 15 million is a bit much? In session 4, October 8th, my mother asked point blank, so you'll give us the money now, right? 4 sessions, 6 hours total. And not once did any of them actually listen. After the final session, Dr. Reeves sent me a private report. One line stood out. In my professional opinion, their participation appears motivated by financial gain rather than authentic desire for reconciliation. I filed the report with the letters and the volunteer evaluations, and I waited. January 2nd, 2026, exactly 1 year after the will reading. I called a meeting at Mr. Wilson's office. Same conference room, same table. At 10 a.m. they walked in. My father in a suit, my mother in a dress, Brandon in slacks and a button-down. They looked nervous, hopeful. Mr. Wilson sat beside me. Stella has reviewed all evidence, he said. Volunteer logs, apology letters, therapy reports. She's ready to give her decision. I slid a single typed page across the table. My father picked it up. Read it. His face went white. Allocation decision. Richard Harrison, $0. Patricia Harrison, $0. Brandon Harrison, $0. Reason. While all 3 technically fulfilled the conditions, none demonstrated genuine change. Their actions were transactional, motivated by financial gain, not authentic remorse or desire for relationship repair. My mother stared at me. Stella, you can't. I can, I said. And I have. Brandon slammed his fist on the table. This is bullshit. We did everything you asked. You did everything Grandpa required, I said, my voice calm. You did 200 hours, exactly 200. Not 205 because you wanted to help. 200 because that's what the will said. You wrote 500 words, not because you meant them, but because that's the minimum. You showed up to therapy, but you didn't listen. You didn't change. I stood up. For 10 years, you gave me the minimum. You gave me the smallest amount of attention, respect, and love you could give without feeling guilty. So I'm giving you exactly what you gave me. I picked up my bag. Nothing. My mother started crying, real tears this time. My father just sat there, staring at the paper. Brandon stood up, his face red. You can't do this! We're your family! I stopped at the door. No, I said quietly. You're people who share my blood. But you were never my family. And I walked out. 6 months later, July 18th, 2026. I drove to Grandpa's house on a Sunday afternoon, the same route I'd taken every Sunday for the past 6 months. The same Sunday visits I'd kept since January. I pulled into the driveway at 1:52 p.m. The temperature was 81 degrees, summer in Connecticut. The maple trees in the yard were thick with green leaves. I grabbed the bouquet of white chrysanthemums from the passenger seat, Grandpa's favorite, and walked to the front door. He was sitting in his rocking chair. Same chair, same spot. Like the universe had paused since Christmas 2024, and only we had moved forward. Hi, Grandpa. Stella, he smiled. Right on time. I set the flowers in a vase on the side table and sat down on the couch. How are you feeling? Good. Old, but good. I'd hired a home health aide to visit 3 times a week. Grandpa didn't need much help. At 82, he was still fixing toasters and walking 2 miles a day, but I wanted someone checking on him. You didn't have to do that, he'd said when I told him. I know. I wanted to. Now, sitting across from him, I pulled out my phone and showed him photos. This is my new place. A 2-bedroom condo in downtown Greenwich. Nothing extravagant. Hardwood floors, big windows, a small balcony overlooking a park. I'd paid $485,000 in cash, no mortgage, no debt. It's beautiful, he said. I'm still working at the hospice, I added. 2 shifts a week, 24 hours total. Why keep working? Because it's who I am. The money didn't change that. He nodded. Good. I scrolled to another photo. And this is David. A picture of me and a man in scrubs, smiling outside the hospital. David Chen, 32 years old, ICU nurse. We'd met in April when one of my hospice patients was transferred to the ICU for a brief stabilization. He's a nurse? Grandpa asked. Yeah. We went on our first date in May. I didn't tell him about the money until our 3rd month together. How did he react? He said, Okay, but you're still splitting the bill when we go out. Grandpa laughed. I like him already. He sees me as Stella, I said, not as $15 million. That's rare. That's love. I set my phone down. Grandpa, I need to tell you something. What? I gave my decision in January. I allocated $0 to all 3 of them. He was quiet for a moment. Then, do you regret it? No. Good. Do they still contact you? My father sent an email in March. I didn't open it. My mother tried calling in April. I didn't answer. Brandon moved to Boston in June. I heard he got a new job. I'm happy for him, from a distance. And you're okay with that? I thought about it. I don't hate them, Grandpa. I just don't need them anymore. And that feels freeing. That's all I wanted, he said. For you to be free. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. I also wanted to show you this. Inside were 3 scholarship award letters. The Stella Harrison Caregiver Excellence Fund had given its first round of scholarships in the fall of 2025. 10 students, $10,000 each. 3 of them had written me thank you letters. Grandpa read them slowly. One was from Maria Lopez, 24, a single mother switching careers to become a hospice nurse. Another was from James Chen, 28, a former EMT who wanted to specialize in end-of-life care. The third was from Ashley Williams, 22, a recent nursing graduate who'd lost her grandmother to cancer and wanted to help families like hers. "They're going to be amazing," Grandpa said. "I hope so." He set the letters down and looked at me. "Stella, I need to ask you something." "What? Are you happy?" It was the same question he'd asked me on December 21st, 2024. 7 months ago, in this same room. Back then, I'd said, "I don't know what happy is anymore." Now I smiled. "Yeah, Grandpa, I am." He reached out and took my hand. His grip was weaker than it used to be, but it was still steady. "You know what I see when I look at you now?" "What?" "I see someone who chose herself, and that's the hardest thing a person can do." We sat in silence for a while. The afternoon sun filtered through the windows. Outside, a cardinal sang in the maple tree. At 5:30 p.m., I stood to leave. Grandpa walked me to the door, slowly but without help. "See you next Sunday?" he asked. "Always." He hugged me, a long hug, the kind that says everything words can't. "Thank you, Stella," he whispered, "for showing me I did the right thing." "You don't need to thank me, Grandpa." "I know, but I wanted to." I drove home as the sun set over Connecticut. My phone buzzed with a text from David. "Dinner at my place? I'm making pasta." I smiled and replied, "Be there in 20. At a red light, I glanced at my reflection in the rearview mirror. The girl who used to shrink herself to fit into other people's expectations was gone. In her place was someone new. Someone who'd learned that you can't buy love, you can't buy respect, and you definitely can't buy back time wasted on people who never saw you. But you can choose to walk away. And sometimes, that's the most valuable thing you'll ever own. I thought about everything that had happened. The note on the counter, the 7 days with Grandpa, the $20 million revelation, the will reading, the year of watching them try and fail to change. And I realized something. This was never about revenge. It was about being seen. And now, finally, I was.